At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Hello and welcome to Ask Margaret from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood, answering your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. Today's question comes from a listener and it says, my 5-year-old is afraid of naturally occurring phenomenon, natural disasters like floods, tornadoes, hurricanes. I try to explain these things very matter-of-factly, but she would continue with questions for days. Do we get tornadoes? Would a flood come to our house? If we are watching a show and someone injures themselves, she would ask, Mommy, what happened to that man? Why was he bleeding? Was he breathing? Why is his arm like that? I realize these are different situations, but they all fuel some kind of anxiety in her. Does anyone else have kids dealing with these emotions? How can I help reassure her she is safe and other people are safe when bad things happen? I will start with my sister-in-law's advice, which I really like. It's so simple, but answer the question you are asked. And so certain kids, and I was one of these kids, have higher anxiety set points. And so I have 3 kids, and one of them is constantly asking about things like school shootings or natural disasters or what is going on with wars in different places and how dangerous is that for us. And this is a verbal manifestation of anxiety. And so I think the place to start is answer the question you are asked. And so, do we get tornadoes? No. Where we live is very hilly, and so tornadoes can't form here. Would a flood come to our house? We live at the bottom of a hill, so sometimes rainwater comes down, and historically, the flood would only get about 6 inches in our house. So not a bad flood. We don't live near raging water, and so that's not something we have to worry about. And just keep answering the question every time it is asked so that there's a temptation, I think, sometimes when our kids are anxious, it makes us feel anxious, and we have a tendency to go right to, that could never happen. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen to you. Don't worry about it at all. And I think sometimes we're kind of tipping our hand that we are actually really anxious and that we're giving answers that are like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's fine. And I think that it is better to just answer the questions as they come in and acknowledge we had a couple of really bad storms 2 years ago maybe, and it was pretty scary. Booming thunder and the phone was beeping and going off. Get to high ground, it's a flood. Get to low ground, it's this. And my kids were pretty freaked out by it, and I just try to answer their questions about it. At the time, I said, this is pretty scary, but here's what's going on in our house. We have this and this and this, and this is how the house manages this kind of weather. And even though it feels scary, we are safe. And just assuring them in a calm voice, but also acknowledging the fact that it is scary. We were also involved in a bad plane landing once where our plane was in a bad storm, and it was quite scary, and they have some lingering fears about flying. And I'll say, let's look that up. Let's see how planes are designed to handle storms so that it's information-based responses. I'm also going to point you to an article from seattlechildren's.org that is called Helping Kids Cope with Anxiety Over Distressing News. Now, this isn't necessarily news that you're talking about, but I think it is in a very similar vein. And so that they talk about, which we've talked about on the podcast before, honest language. I have dealt with a couple of things with my kids that were really, really difficult. And I will say I kind of failed this test at the time. We had an event that happened in our town that was extremely upsetting and distressing. And I knew what I had to do was be really, really honest. And I could not actually get the words out of my mouth, what had actually happened. And I kind of punted on it. And then, of course, what happened, my kids went to school and the other kids knew what had happened. And they were getting it told to them by a 6-year-old instead of by their middle-aged mom, which would have been a lot better. And so I will acknowledge that it can be really hard. And then I think, as the Seattle Children's article makes clear, the biggest thing we can do is just be present with our kids, that we're having times, whether it's driving the car, sitting at the dinner table, or just going on walks together, that we have times built into our schedule where we can just talk so that these anxieties can come up in conversation and we can talk them out, because that's mostly what kids want to do. They want help processing these big emotions. If we have kids who are anxious, as I do, I sometimes will bring this up. What are the things that went best today? What are the things that went worse today? What is the big thing we're worrying about today? So that there's always a sense of, we can talk about scary things, we can look at scary things together, and when we talk honestly about scary things and you and I look at them together and I help show you that as an adult I am not scared of this thing, or I am scared of these things and I'm going to break down what we do to stay safe and how that makes it better, that is what anxious kids are really looking for. And what gets in the way of that is our own fear of like, oh, let's just move past that part where something scary happened on TV because I don't want to have that conversation because it's freaking me out too. And it would be better if we both just forgot about it. Fight that urge as much as possible. I am speaking to myself as well as you, because this is an area where I really struggle as a parent. I'm kind of like, let's keep it light, guys. Let's not focus on the negative. But I have been tested in this realm, haven't always passed the test. And I feel like if I was giving advice to myself of 10 years ago, I would say kids are looking to you to be their guide through scary things by being honest, by being present, and by focusing on solutions and safety. And I wish I'd done a better job at certain points. So I'm really glad that someone asked this question. I hope that helps. If you have a question for myself or Amy, you can ask them on our website. You can even record them on our website. You can send them into our Facebook page, or you can send them to questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com, and you may hear your question answered on an upcoming episode. Thanks so much for listening.